Kakashi Hatake is the man who lost everything. His father, his best friend, his master, his mentor, his friend Asuma, the woman he loved, and finally the very eye that gave him the name, Copy Ninja. There's a rare kind of pain that doesn't scream. It lingers. It makes a home inside your chest, setting up camp in the space where joy used to live. Kakashi's story is not one of redemption. He didn't fall and climb back. He simply kept walking, even when every part of him was broken. He was the son of a legend, Sakumo Hatake, the white fang of the leaf. He was a hero once held as greater than even the Sannin. But honor can be a double-edged sword, and Konoha in its obsession with success carved that blade deep into the Hatake legacy. When his father chose to save his comrades over completing the mission, the village shunned him. Not even the people he saved could offer him forgiveness. In time, shame became a poison he couldn't spit out, and he took his own life. That was Kakashi's first lesson. Mercy is weakness, and weakness will destroy you. So the boy became a soldier. He took rules and made them religion. Obedience became his identity. If emotion cost his father everything, then he would bury his own beneath discipline and steel. The will of fire. It's said to be the driving force of the hidden leaf. The belief that love and legacy pass through generations like a torch. That the village must be protected at all costs. That comrades are family. That bonds matter more than anything else. But one could argue that it's the very thing that kept taking from Kakashi. What the will of fire asks of its shinobi is not peace. It's endurance. It demands sacrifice with no guarantee of peace. It asks you to smile as you watch the people you love die, and then go back to war. In that way, it's a flame that doesn't just warm, it burns. And for Kakashi, it burned everything. The truth is, Hashirama's philosophy failed this young ninja. The will of fire, as noble as it was, became a myth handed down by men who never had to live through the wreckage it caused. It was born from Hashirama's heart, but never sharpened by reality. He believed that love could build a village, that understanding could create peace. But the system that followed became something else. A machine, one that devoured children like Obito, like Rin, like Kakashi. What began as a dream became a doctrine, a fire that demanded sacrifice without end. And the children of that dream were left to bleed in its name. Hashirama believed love could overcome the curse of hatred, but he underestimated how deep that curse ran. He underestimated the world. Even his best friend Madara saw the flaw. He saw that peace built on compromise without understanding, without justice, was fragile. Hashirama wanted to believe that if you give people something to protect, they will choose peace. But sometimes they protect it by destroying everything else. As Madara said, hatred is born to protect love. And so the cycle continued. Hashirama's dream became twisted under the pressure of fear. Where once there was trust, the village learned to spy. Where there was love, there grew paranoia. And where there was supposed to be peace, they trained child soldiers. Kakashi lived in the ruins of that dream. He survived every failure, every contradiction, every time the village chose the mission of immorality. He never once shouted out against the system. But neither did he ever truly believe in it. Not completely. He just endured it. Because there was no other choice. Because if not him, who else? He was the living contradiction. The shinobi who carried Hashirama's ideal in his heart but fought in a world built by Madara's warning. He knew peace wasn't inherited. It had to be earned, lived, suffered through. Obito, his teammate, his rival, his friend, gave him a new eye. A Sharingan born from love, gifted in the moment of death. Kakashi's first real connection since his father's passing. Crushed beneath stone and sacrifice. It was almost poetic. The boy who worshipped rules was saved by a boy who broke them. But Obito's lesson didn't free Kakashi. I would say it changed him. That eye wasn't just a gift. It was a tombstone. A reminder that he lived because someone else died. He became the copy ninja, but in his own heart, he was still the boy who couldn't save anyone. Rin was the scar he never healed from. People say it was a mistake, that Kakashi didn't mean to kill her. But what they don't understand is that it doesn't matter. The guilt doesn't care about context. It only cares that the girl who smiled at him is now buried in his nightmares. She was kindness in a world that taught him cruelty. When she died by his hand, he didn't just lose a comrade. He lost hope. And hope, once it dies, doesn't come back easy. After Rin's death, the Kakashi we knew disappeared. He joined the Anbu by the recommendation of his sensei. He was in hopes of helping the young ninja. But the Anbu belonged to a world that doesn't ask for morality, only efficiency. And in the dark silence he thrived, or at least survived. They called him cold, unfeeling, a prodigy of death. But the truth, he was just grieving, lost, not just to others but to himself. Each mission blurred the edges of who he once was, until all that remained was function. Kill, return, report, repeat. Minato, the one who once taught him, who once called him family, was too busy becoming Hokage. And then, he too was gone. Sacrificed to the same endless cycle of death that Konoha demands of its shinobi. Even the third Hokage who might have guided him died later at the hands of Orochimaru, another lost soul who gave into the void that Kakashi fought so hard to avoid. So why didn't he break like Obito did? Why didn't he fall? It's easy to say Kakashi was stronger, that he had better judgment. But that's a simplification, a comforting lie. The truth is that they were the same. Two children, betrayed by the same system, left alone to mourn the people they loved. The difference wasn't strength. It was choice. It was pain met with patience instead of power. Obito lost everything, and there was no one left to tell him he still mattered. No one but Madara. No one but a ghost. He didn't fall into darkness. He was left there. Kakashi also fell, hard, deeper than anyone should have to. But no matter how small, someone always reached out. Sometimes it was Guy dragging him out of the Anbu headquarters with ridiculous challenges. Sometimes it was Asuma. Sometimes it was Kurenai. And sometimes it was just a memory of Minato, of Rin, of Obito himself. Obito gave his heart to a dream, one he hoped could replace the pain of reality, a perfect illusion, a world without loss, without war, without choice. Kakashi chose to stay in the world that broke him, because if he left, who would be there for the next boy about to fall? The eye of the moon and the wheel of fire, two opposite answers to the same wound. Their confrontation inside the Kamui dimension wasn't just a battle of fists. It was a confrontation between two philosophies, two versions of the same boy. One who abandoned the world because it hurt too much, and one who chose to stay in it anyway. Kakashi didn't fight Obito to defeat him. He fought to reach him, because he knew that what broke Obito almost broke him too. But someone has to choose to carry the pain. Someone has to stand in the fire and not become it. He survived, and that too became its own kind of sin. Because every time he looked in the mirror, he saw the faces of the ones who didn't. The irony was cruel. He, the most broken, kept living, while those with more warmth, more love, more hope faded into memory. He carried the weight of being alive like a punishment, and that punishment never ended. Even when he saved the village, even when he trained the next generation, even when he became Hokage, to others it was a triumph. To him, it was another promise he had to keep, for those who could no longer keep theirs. Kakashi Hatake lost everything. His father, his best friend, the woman he loved, his mentor, his master, his eye, his youth, his peace. But he never lost his soul. And perhaps that's the greatest legacy any shinobi can leave behind. He wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the loudest, but he was always there. The man who stood between the darkness and the flame, and chose to stay.